Hey everyone, hopefully you can see me. Okay, I don't have lights on out here. It is getting dark and summer. I've just gotten out of the pool and decided that this would be a great time update. Before I get to the ghost story of the night, I want to give you a quick update about what happened to me the other day in my house. So, I was waiting for my daughter-in-law and the kids to come over, and I was in my sewing room slash office where I edit all my film. That's where my computer is, and the dog started barking. So I went to the front of the house. I was standing in the kitchen and I was putting my phone down because I thought the kids were here, and the dogs were standing by the carport door barking. So I took one step toward the carport door, and my doorknob turned and opened. The carport door is by my black cabinet that I've showed you a few times that I just redid. So the doorknob turned, my door opened, and it opened slowly. It was just like a, and then I go, oh hi, thinking it was my granddaughter coming in, right? And I walk over there and the dogs are kind of howling in front of the door. I walk over there, nobody's there, and my screen door isn't open. So somebody couldn't have just opened it. I would have heard the screen door shut. It's a heavy screen door. It's a security screen door. Luna, no. I tried to lock the dogs out of the pool area, and Hercules knows how to open the door and the others don't. So he's in here lounging on the couch. And she's mad because she doesn't know how to open the door. Anyway, so I kind of caught me off guard. I wasn't ready, and the wind wasn't blowing. It was morning. Usually when monsoons kick up, it's in the evening. So this was early. This was about 9 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, it caught me off guard, and I walked over there. The dogs are howling in front of the screen door. They weren't like right there, like trying to get at whoever's there, because normally if somebody they know is coming through the door, they're right up against the door and they want, they want to see whoever's coming in the door. So it's usually my kids or my grandkids. Sorry for all the noise. I live in the middle of the city. Anyway, somebody's car alarm's going off in the neighborhood. I can hear that. I could hear other dogs, and the bugs, what are they, cicadas, are coming out now. Locusts? Cicadas? I don't know. They're big and they're scary looking, but they make a lot of noise. Anyway, so when I went over there was nobody there, and I shut the door. I looked outside, there's nobody running away from the door, and they wouldn't have had time, Plus I have a camera right there. My camera alerts me when it sees somebody. It didn't pick up a ghost. It didn't pick up anybody, but the doorknob clearly turned and opened. And then I called my husband and said, hey, did you forget to lock the carport door today? And he said, no, I would never forget to lock the door. And I said, oh, okay. The screen door was locked. The carport door was not locked. The interior door was not locked. Obviously, it opened. Or it was locked and it just opened. I don't know which. But either way, it did kind of give me a little start that morning. And then when my daughter-in-law got there, she came in through the front door because she is now uncomfortable with the carport door, because she's been at my house numerous times when you can hear tapping on that door or the doorknob jiggling, and we always think somebody's here or coming in, and nobody's ever there. So it scares her, and so she will only use the front door. So she came in that front door, and that's when I told her about what happened, and she says, oh my gosh. Makes her a little uneasy. So anyway, that happened. And then I want to tell you, I'm in my pool area, okay? The pool's behind me, but we used to have an annual Halloween party. I can't say that we are never going to have it again. We just didn't have it last year, and I thought I'd be done with it, but who knows, because I missed it. I missed it last year. So anyway, one year, and we have every year when we have our Halloween party, we always decorate the pool area, and we keep the gate open and people wander in and out. And one year we had a little fire pit over here, and it was one of those little copper bowl fire pits, and it was sitting on the cement, and we had the wood in there and had the fire going for the whole Halloween party, and we kept feeding it, and everybody was out here having a good time. And one of my friends was here, and she was taking pictures of the whole party and all the decorations. And when we were sitting, in this area where the tent is, I used to have a table and chairs. So we were all sitting around this table, and she was taking pictures, and she was trying out her new camera. It was on her, I think it was on her cell phone, and it was the mode that you hit the button and it takes a whole bunch of pictures in succession. She did that and caught something in the fire pit. It was like rising above the flames, and it clearly was a person. And it was in a few clips, and then gone. It was so weird. I kept that picture for years, and I don't know, that is probably stuck on the drive with the rest of my pictures. I bet it is. I'll have to ask her if she has it still. She probably doesn't either. Geez, it's been a long time. That was probably 8 years ago, 9 years ago maybe. It was a long time ago. Anyway, so that picture was there. I didn't notice anything off that night, but I probably wouldn't, since, you know, we were having a party and there was a lot of people here. But the picture was really creepy. She sent it to me the next morning as soon as she saw it and noticed it. So that was creepy. Usually I don't like to be out here at night by myself. I don't generally sit out here alone. So just an FYI. I'm only okay with it right now because you are all with me. So the real ghost story of the night that I want to share with you is a story, I'm going to call it the Deep Lake story. So, in Michigan, when my sister and I were young, my sister is 3 years younger than me. When we were young, my mom was living in like a big, huge Victorian house, and my mom was living upstairs in this Victorian house. And it was a beautiful Victorian house, but it was so big it had been divided up into apartments. And so my mom and sister were living there. My mom was a single mom. I was out on my own, and I was staying there with my sister, and my sister was going through a rough patch in her life. And, you know, being a teenager, teenage years are so difficult. She had some strange happenings around her. So at some point, and I don't remember when, my sister started acting a little bit funny. And it was like oddball things. Like, my mom got mad at her. She was skipping school. She wasn't doing what she was supposed to. And my mom would ground her, and she would just leave anyway. You know, she was that kid. She was kind of naughty. Sorry, Ames. She's gonna see this, and I'm gonna get a lecture. I'm only allowed to tell portions of her story, so, and I'm trying not to give out too much information about her young life, because, you know, as you grow up and you look back and you're like, oh, that's so stupid, I can't believe I acted that way, or I can't believe I did that. That's her. That's how she feels about her teenage years. So, because she was, like I said, she was a little naughty. So, you know, she wasn't doing what she was supposed to do, and my mom was lecturing her, and she would just say oddball things to my mom, and we would just look at each other like, where would that come from? I mean, it would be like, I can't even explain it to you, like what she would say wouldn't make any sense, and we would just look at each other, you know. And then my mom would get creeped out, and my mom wouldn't say anything more to her. So my mom did end up letting a lot of things go. Well, during that time, I thought I would try to help my sister. So she had gotten in with the wrong crowd, you know, not good friends to hang out with, and I was trying to keep her away from these friends as her older sister. You know, I was trying to pull her out of this funk she was in and keep away from these kids. These other people, or kids, or whatever you want to call them. I don't know them. I never met them. I didn't see them. That's another thing. We never met any of her friends in that time period, so we had no idea. So anyway, I stayed there. My mom I think my mom had left for something for a couple days. Anyway, Amy and I were looking for some things down in the basement. So the basement, you had to go outside of the house. It's, like I said, an old Victorian, almost like the storm shelter thing. You open up the doors, you go down in. But we went down into this. I don't know if we were pulling out decorations or something my mom wanted. But I remember being down there and thinking, you know what, we're not alone. There's something down here. And clearly I got startled, and I said to her, we need to get out of here right now. And she says to me, why? If they wanted you dead, you'd already be dead. I freaked, and I turned around to run, and I was going up the stairs, and I put my hands on the cement to get out faster. I was like hands and feet trying to scramble out of that basement, and I just got the worst feeling being under there, and it scared me. So I was scrambling, and I don't think I smacked my hands, but I was, scrambling out of there. And by the time I got out, I looked down. My hands were a little bit red, but my hands felt funny. My hands felt like I had worms crawling through my fingers. And it was the weirdest sensation. And it was right then I looked at my sister and I said, what is going on? I said, I don't feel right. I'm scared. I feel like I have worms crawling through my bones. And my sister looked at me and quietly said, if you don't think it's anything, then it's nothing. And I thought, well, that was weird. She was creeping me out so bad. I was getting afraid of my own sister. I think everybody in the family was getting scared of her. It was a little bit creepy. So anyway, that being said, that's just the beginning of the story. Then we would try to keep her home. She would leave the house, or she would try to leave the house, and I'd stand in her way and I'd say, nope, not leaving tonight, and keep her home. Well, then we started receiving phone calls. And the phone calls, I would pick up the phone. It's still landline, mind you, back then. There was no cell phones yet, other than the big 80s bag phones, right? So the landline would ring. I'd pick it up and I would say hello, and it would be this weird voice, and all of a sudden it would be a ton of static, and I would hear like weird cackling on the other end. The phone calls got to me. The phone calls scared me. Well, here we are with the baby, my sister, and these weird phone calls. They just kept going on and on and on, and they just never let up. All these weird phone calls, and it was always the same thing: the cackling, the laughing, the crackling phone lines. It was almost like a bad connection every time, but it lasted like the whole weekend that my mom was gone. And anyway, finally I said, you know what, let's just get out of here and go camping. I think my mom was due to come back, so I ended up leaving my baby with my mom, my daughter, and we went camping. So I don't think at the time we knew exactly where we were going to camp, but then my husband had talked to a cousin or something. They were camping at Deep Lake. I've never been to Deep Lake before. Great, let's go. We're used to camping. We're used to going to the lakes. Living in Michigan, it's what you do. You go to the lakes. We used to go lake hopping. Anyway, so we packed our little tent and our sleeping bags and our camping gear and our little cooler, and it had rained all day that day, but we were going to go camping anyway. When you're a kid, nothing deters you. It doesn't matter if you're raining. So we went to this lake, and it was, I can't even remember at this point. I think it was over by Hastings, Michigan, maybe, but it is called Deep Lake, and right around the corner from Deep Lake is something called the Devil's Soup Bowl. And I think a lot of people go riding their dirt bikes through there. I think that's pretty much what that area was. But Deep Lake apparently got its name because there's like no bottom. I don't know. Obviously there's a bottom somewhere, but it's very deep and it's pitch black. And I don't know the whole history of Deep Lake. If you are from Michigan and you are familiar with Deep Lake, please comment, tell me something. I know a lot of my subscribers are from Michigan, but if you know anything about this lake, please let me know. Enlighten me. I have no idea. This was my only camping experience there, and I never went back. So we get to Deep Lake. The park ranger let us in. It was in the summertime, but it was late summer, and there wasn't a lot of campers there since it was after 4th of July. So I think it was at the very end of July or at the beginning of August at this point. So we go there, and they put us in this weird spot. So in this campground, there's different drives, and then there's down by the lake over here. for some reason we had to go up this hill, so this big hill, and then on top of the hill there's a roundabout, and then there's all the campsites on the roundabout. Well, as soon as you go up the hill to go around, we were camping on, I guess it would be like the east side of this little hill, right? This little mound. Little, big, I don't know, it wasn't real small. Sorry, I lost you for a minute. I was talking away and my camera stopped. So, we were on this big roundabout. Now, like I said, when we got there, I did meet the elderly couple that were camping in the camper in the spot next to us. We were in a tent, and then the rest of the spots were empty on this side of the little circle, the little roundabout, right? It had rained that day. It was really wet. We couldn't get a fire started because everything was too wet. The wood was wet. So we ended up having to go to the nearest convenience store to get some wood. So we ended up getting some wood and some charcoal. So we were able to get our fire lit that night, and then we had like this great thing that went over it. I couldn't even tell you what we ate for dinner because I don't remember. But after that, of course, there was the mess to clean up, and the girls wanted to go swimming. My sister had brought along a friend. So my husband at the time, and mind you, this is my ex-husband. We weren't married for very long. We were young when we got married. My husband at the time took the girls down to the water. And to go down to the water, this hill had steps that went down it. So you had to go down the steps, and then you had to go through the woods. You had to go this winding path through the woods to get over to the lake entrance, beach entrance, the little beach area. The beach area was also where they pulled the boats in and out. It's a tiny little area. So I stayed back. I cleaned everything up, put the cooler away, threw away everything, that needed to be done, and, picked everything up. By that time, it was getting dusk. The elderly people had already gone into their little camper, and they must have been dead asleep because all the lights were off and you didn't hear a peep out of them the rest of the night. So I was going to go down to the lake also to go hang out with them. So I went down the steps, and I'm happily coming down the steps thinking, oh, this is beautiful. It's just getting dusk, so you can still see a little bit. But then I enter the woods, the path through the woods. And as I'm walking the path, I all of a sudden felt like I wasn't alone. I could hear stuff. It could have been animals, but for all I know, I don't know. But I got the creeps. So I took off in a dead run, and I ran that whole trail. I don't know how long it is. To me, it felt like it was a really long trail, but I was scared, and I have no idea. So if you're watching this and you've been to Deep Lake and you know the trail or the area or the hill I'm talking about, maybe it's not that big, but I was young at the time. I don't remember. So anyway, I get to the little beach entrance, and the girls are swimming. There's a bunch of other people there. People are pulling their boats out for the day. My husband was sitting on the beach there, so I went and sat by him, and we're talking to the other people that are there, talking to the girls. Everybody's having a good time. So we must have been down there for, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. I don't remember. So we all walked the path through the woods together back, which was perfectly fine then. When I wasn't alone, I was fine. And we get up there, and everything's all hunky-dory. We're starting to unwind, have a good time. Nobody's worried about anything anymore. Everything just seems much better, and we're not in the hot spot of the apartment where everything was going on. So we're all relaxed, right? Then we had already put up our tent, so when it was time to snuggle in for the night, we did sit by the fire for a little while and chatted. I don't even remember what time we went to bed. I don't think it was very late, actually. I think it was like about 10 o'clock. So 10 o'clock. We're in the tent. The ex-husband decides that he's going to tell a scary story. Wasn't a ghost story. Why he picked the story he did, I'm not sure. I still don't know where the story came from. Oh, I don't think it was anything he heard. I think it was something he made up. Anyway, so he's telling this story. I can't even remember the story. But I remember the end. He says, and all of a sudden, there appeared a white demon. As soon as he says, and this white demon appears with long white nails and long white hair and the cackling voice. He starts describing this demon, which sounds super creepy, and we're all looking at each other like, holy crap, where's this coming from, right? I have no idea. Then I see a light, and I said, oh my gosh, is somebody trying to drive through the woods? Do you think somebody's car is stuck in the woods? I'm thinking it's headlights. So we open the tent, we all go out. Then it looks like they're coming closer and closer and closer, and then boom, nothing. The light's gone. So whatever was coming up that hill with a light, was it a flashlight, a lantern light? I don't know, but it went out. It was gone. And we all looked at each other like, that was weird. And it was weird. I still can't explain this night. To this day, in my older years, I can't explain these events at all. We're standing outside our tent because at this point we're like a little bit puzzled about the light that we had just seen in the woods. All around this mound, this little hill, are woods. Can't drive a car through there, can't drive a bike through there. It's thick woods. So the light's gone now. We're still standing there. Then, all of a sudden, the fire pit next to us, this empty lot of a fire pit, right? Flames. Flames start up from this fire pit. They start little, and get bigger, 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 bigger. All of a sudden, this fire was huge. There was like one large wet log in that fire pit because I checked it myself when we couldn't get our fire lit. So, I'm looking at it. We're looking at each other. We're like, oh my God. How is this happening? I still can't explain it. That fire was taller than I am off of that log. We walked over to the that fire pit. I'm kind of looking at it, and there's raindrops all around it. You know, like there's sand around it with the raindrop sand. There's not footprints other than the side footprints that you see me walk up there and look to, notice it's dripping wet too because it had rained all day all over that chunk of wood. So perturbed, it freaked me out. Freaked me out. The ex-husband got a little bit hysterical. Amy's friend got a little bit hysterical. Amy's friend is Amy. It was Amy and Amy. It was scary. And I thought, what in the world, how can this happen? How can this happen? How did it happen? Anyway, this fire is huge and it's going on, and we're all standing there staring at it. Nobody else is around. The people next door, they didn't come out of their camper. No one's around. So we were right there. Don't you think we would have noticed somebody come up to start a fire next to us? Pretty sure I would have noticed. I noticed the little light in the woods. So no, it couldn't have been somebody sneaking up and starting a quick fire just to scare us. I mean, literally, before the light even hit the top of the hill, I noticed the light coming through the woods, and we got out of the tent, and we're standing there by the time the light got close enough and then went out, So there's no way anybody was over there starting that fire. This still bugs me till this day. This night bothers me. So, after this, it was a little bit crazy. I can say we got a little bit hysterical, maybe scared. So, the ex-husband says, let's get out of here for a little bit. So, we pile in the car. My sister says, no, this is my mess. I'm going to stay and I'm going to deal with it. And we all look at each other like, what? And she's like, no, you go. I'm going to deal with my own mess. So being a stupid kid, I left my sister there. Oh my God, who would do that? Who would just leave their sister there? I was so scared at this point, I just wanted to leave. And I tried to talk her into coming with me. She wasn't going to, and I told her, if you're going to be here, you stay in the tent. Don't go anywhere. So we were going to go up to the store. So we leave there or go for a drive or something. So as we're pulling out, we go the roundabout, and as we're pulling out, I realize there's people camping on the other side of the circle. I didn't notice them there during the day. I didn't notice them there before. There was nothing over there before. I didn't see them set anything up. As we're leaving, they've got a huge bonfire over there. Huge fire. And as I'm driving by, I swear I felt like the movies. I felt like it was in slow motion. As I'm driving by, I'm looking, and they're all wearing armbands. No shirts and armbands. What does that mean? I don't know how I noticed the armbands, and I've had people ask me what color the armbands were, and I don't remember what color they were. The only thing I noticed is they were all shirtless, they were all men, and they all had armbands on. That's what I noticed. I don't know what that means. I still, to this day, don't know what that means. But they had no shirts on. They had armbands on. And I believe it was the right arm because most of them were facing this way. I could see the right arm. Yeah. Anyway, maybe not all of them were the right arm, but I guess the ones I saw standing toward the fire that way, it was the armbands were on the right. Anyway, that's what I noticed. That was my observation. Then we left and I was like, gonna say, where did they come from? But I thought, no, by this point I am so scared. I don't even want to talk about anything. So we leave the park. We have our park pass on our windshield so that we can get back in the park because there's a night guard there. We leave. We are, by this point, we're driving around. We're at Yankee Springs Park. So Deep Lake must not be far from Yankee Springs. So Yankee Springs has a park entrance, but before you go into the park area, there's a little side road, and there was a restaurant. There was like a barbecue restaurant down there. I don't know if it's still there, but there used to be one. So my ex-husband was driving, so he drove down that road, that little road down by the restaurant, and we're looking. Everything's closed up. It's nighttime. It's probably 11 o'clock by this time. Everything's closed, so we're Amy and I are just watching. Amy's friend Amy, we're just watching. We're sitting there trying to calm down, and then both of us see a guy walking down the road wearing white shirt, white shorts, all white. This I remember. I don't remember his shoes, but I remember the white shorts and the white shirt. We're just watching him because we're thinking, wow, that's odd for somebody to be walking at the restaurants and park area this late because everything's closed, right? But you could camp there, so it could have been a camper that wandered way up to the front. So, we're watching him. He's ex-husband's driving. We're watching. All of a sudden, he's walking. Gone. Disappears. There's no door. He was walking in front of a big, long fence. Unless the fence had a big crack in it somewhere, that I didn't notice before, but Yankee Springs is a park I'm very familiar with. There's no way he could have just slipped through there. It was weird. And I looked at Amy and she goes, "Did you see that?" And I said, "Yep." And I turned around and faced forward. I didn't want to look at anything else. Then, at that point, we're still driving. We leave Yankee Springs area and we're driving this road. I couldn't even tell you what road it is, but it was windy and there were a lot of hills. So he's driving. All of a sudden, this car comes up behind him, and it was a really fast car. And it flies past us like we were standing still. And he was driving, 50, 55 on those windy back roads. For windy back roads with hills, 50, 55 is pretty fast. This guy just whipped past us and was driving so fast. I was like, oh my gosh, how fast do you think he's going, Anyway, as he's driving, you can see only his headlights, and it just keeps going around up the mountain, not the mountain, the hill, just keeps going. And all of a sudden, the ex-husband floors it, like he's trying to catch up to the guy. I'm like, what are you doing? Freaked me out. He all of a sudden was in his zone, thought he was going to follow the guy. I think it freaked him out too, and he wanted to see, was it a real car? Were we just, at this point, seeing things? Have we all drank the same Kool-Aid? I don't know. So, finally he calms down and he says, you know what, let's go to Orangeville. So, Orangeville wasn't very far, and that's where he grew up. So, anyway, we went there. And we went to the gas station. At that point, this was very early 90s. This was 1991. So, yeah, it must have been 90. It was 91. Something like that. It was very early 90s. So, we went to the gas station there, and the gas station was where kind of everybody hung out. There was one gas station there, and everybody kind of hung out there if they weren't hanging out at the Orangeville Tavern there, the bar. So we're in the parking lot with everybody else's cars lined up. Everybody's out talking, and they're drinking their beers and whatevs. And, he was related to half of them. There were a lot of his cousins there. So, we're talking to everybody and just hanging out. We must have stayed there for, I don't know, maybe an hour. And then I was like, we need to go back because my sister's still there. I don't want her to be there that long by herself. So we'd already left her there for, I don't know, 30 minutes, 45 minutes. So she was there for a couple hours by herself. So we go back, we get in the car, we go back. Everything's quiet. My sister, we get in there, my sister's in the tent. She's just sitting there, real quiet. And I say to her, you know, are you all right? Everything okay? She said, no, I'm scared. Finally, she acts like she has emotion, or act like she's normal, you know. So at this point, she's terrified. And I said, whoa, did anything happen when we were gone? You know, because she says she's going to clean up her mess. She's going to deal with it. And she says, well, I went for a walk. And she says, when I went for a walk, I thought somebody was following me. And she says, I turned around when I heard somebody following me. And she said, I felt somebody breathing down my neck. So she says she turned around. And when she turned around, took a step, and she says she ran into somebody really tall. And she said it was more like a tall black shadow, but she could definitely feel that it was there, you know, like substance to it. And she said, then it grabbed her by the arm. And she did have a slight bruise, but it was like a weird grab from the back of the arm. So that's weird. So I didn't quite understand, you know, and I said, well, what happened after that? And she said it mumbled something to her. I'm not going to tell you what it mumbled because she doesn't want everybody to know everything, but it mumbled something to her. And then it was gone, and she was standing there alone. And that's when she got in the tent and stayed there and waited for us. So that's the only thing that happened when we were gone, but that's pretty scary, and it scared her. And I don't know. So we didn't sleep well at all that night. We were awake most of the night. And then by this time we're tired. The morning hits. We're all exhausted, but it starts downpouring again. But it rained so hard, our tent started flooding. Something touched my foot. Scared me. Okay, so our tent was flooding. So I got up, and I'm like trying to rush around and grab everything and throw it in the car. And the ex-husband's all mad because he doesn't want to wake up because he's tired. You know, we were just up all night. So I'm trying to collapse the tent. So here I am, get her done, Jen, right? So he's inside the tent still grumbling, and I'm like, nope, get up, get out, get out, get out. We're leaving this place and we're never coming back. Let's get up, get up. So I start taking down the tent. I'm collapsing it and pulling out the old poles, you know, the poles from the bottom, because this is back when the tents, you had to put all the poles together and they were metal. So I'm pulling it apart. It's pouring. He's still inside the tent, and then he's jerking the tent around, grumbling and swearing, and I'm like, I said get out, get out. I was ready to go. I was done. The girls were already in the car. I was pulling everything down and just chucking it in the car. So we get back home, and we're in my mom's apartment with my sister. My sister goes to her room to go to sleep, and I went to take a shower. And as I go into the shower, again, that feeling of not being alone, like you're being followed. And I swear to you, I went to take my nightgown off. Okay, so my camera went off again. Usually it dings when it's going to go off, and I'm not hearing any of it tonight. So I don't know how much you missed out on. But I was just saying that these events, they don't seem so scary now that I'm telling you about them, but at the time I was terrified. I was terrified. It was a strange time in our lives, you know. Well, if you're from Michigan and you know any history about Deep Lake, let me know. Let me know in the comments. I should look it up. I never Googled it and hadn't even thought about it in years until I thought I'd tell you a summer story by the pool, and then I decided to tell you that story. It's kind of a choppy story because there probably was a lot more that happened, but I can't remember. It's that long ago. Those were the bigger things that happened that night that I remembered. My sister may remember some more stuff, but I think she's forgotten a lot of it too because she was so young. Yeah. Anyway, If you enjoyed my scary story, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. It really helps me out a lot, and I sure do appreciate your support. Thanks for watching. I'll see you with another ghost story in the fall.